Okay. So, first of all, my greetings. And today I will talk about the exact experience of the Bardo, the experience, what happens when the person's born in the state of Bardo. So last time, as I told, when the person, when they're born in the state of the Bardo, the day first, after the death, when they born in the state of the Bardo, they will not know that they are died. After the day, when they born in the state of the Bardo, when they born in the intimated state, they have to live in that intimate state 49 days. The day first, when they realize, they first, after when they realize that they were died, that will bring a very strong sadness or the very strong mental shock for the Bardo's being. That day, the first day, and after they're getting very strong shock, then they will feel like they pass out, or they will lost the conscious because of the very strong shock, realizing that they were died. Now you can imagine when we are so scared of dying, the moment when we realize that we are already died, then you can imagine how we will feel. So then the day first is what will happen at that the day the first, they will have the two things will happen. First thing is that after that they are realizing that they are died, then they will see, they will have visions of the visions of the Buddha. But here the one thing is important to understand. The one thing, in the state of the Bardo, in the state of the intimated, whoever born in that state, they will have a visions of the different Buddhas, especially the 5 Buddhas. Here, the one thing is quite important to understand that the why the person who born in the intermediate state, they are having the visions of the different Buddhas. One time, some people ask me the question when I'm giving the talk about the Bardo. They ask me that the persons who have no idea of the Buddha, persons have no idea of the any of the Buddha. When these kind of the people, when they born in a Bardo, will they have a vision of the Buddha? Will they see the Buddha in the state of Bardo? So that's why it's first thing is it's important to understand the state of the Buddha, because that when the person, when they have achieved the Buddhahood, it means they have transformed their the five aggregate into the state of the pure state. The five aggregate, if you're not very clear with the five aggregate, so let me explain about the five aggregate. The all the way humans have a five aggregate. That is, we have a form, we have a feeling, we have a perception, we have a mental activity or mental formation or consciousness. Okay, five aggregate, I will repeat again. Form, feeling, perception, mental formation or mental activity, or consciousness. The achieving the Buddhahood, it's not other than the transforming these five aggregates into the very pure state. Take it right now, our perception, look at our perception, it is very unpure. What I mean by the unpure means that we have lots of the negative perceptions, like a feeling. We have a lot of the negative feelings. When you reach such a state, you have only the pure and the right feeling, pure and the right perception. That state we call that the state of Buddhahood. So these five aggregates, when you transform into the pure state, so we label with the different Buddha's name or different Tathagat names. So bottom line is that achieving the Buddhahood means transforming these five aggregate into the pure state. So that's why the day first, the person who are born in the Bardo will vision of the Buddha called the Vairocana Buddha is another other than the transforming our form into the very pure form. So that when the persons state of the Bardo day, first they will see the Vairocana Buddha. That's the one thing. The second thing is that when he is seeing the Vairocana Buddha, with the Vairocana Buddha, he will see the two different ray or two different light. One with the very intense violet ray, and the one with the ray without ray, but not that intense. The white ray or the white light, not very intense, and the one violet intense light coming from the Vairocana Buddha. So it's a very important to the person who are born in the Bardo state, not to get attached to that white light, which is not very intense. If you get attached to that white light, then you will born again into the samsara. So that's why it's a very important to move towards the violet intense light which comes from the Vairocana Buddha. Here the one someone quite long back asked me that this Buddha, what appears in the Buddha state, it comes from the Buddha's pure land, or it just appear in the mental state of the Bardo beings. It just appear in the mental state of the intimated state beings. That is one important point we have to understand. So, Buddhas, here the one thing you should understand that they is in the very, very famous Nalanda scholar called the Shantideva. He said the one thing: who created fire of the hell? How does the hell gods comes from? Where does the hell gods comes from? So that is the question he raised, and he answered the question. He said all the hell realm, fire of the hell, which exists in the state of the negative mind. So existing in the mental state, it is one very important Buddhism, the point that the things exist in your state of your mental state. Like if you look at like a beauty and the ugly, it's totally depends on you, how you see tasty and untasty. It's purely depends on you, how you perceive it. So that's why in the Buddhism, it's a one very important thing to understand. It's that it says that the mental projection or mentally impute. So when you're saying the things isn't good, so that means that you see that as a good. When you see that as a bad, you will say that is a bad. So that's why that's why the in the state of the Bardo, lots of things that exist into the mental state. So the Vairocana Buddha. So moments that in the day first, when they see the Vairocana Buddha, so with the Vairocana Buddha, also the Bardo beings will see the violet intense ray or light coming from the Vairocana Buddha. So that's a very important to the Bardo beings to move or to follow that intense the violet light, not to get attached to the white light, which is not very intense. That is the experience at the day first. So that's why the in the in in ancient tradition, and especially in the Tibetan ancient tradition, when the person die, some people will read that the book of the death to introduce the old the experience to what they have to do in the state of the Bardo. Also, the book of the death, it also considers as the guidance for the people who are living in the Bardo state. As I mentioned before, when we are born in the Bardo state, we can't use the Google. We can't use any these social media and the research engines. So that's why we need the guidance. So that's why the ancient tradition, they read the book of the dead to give the guidance to the people who are born in the state of the Bardo. Now the here one thing is that the person who are born in the Bardo state, they can see us, they can hear us, but they cannot talk. Because they cannot talk, but they can see each other. So one time people asked me the question, one thing that when the people are born in the Bardo state, and when they communicate each other, what language they will use? What language they will use? Look at okay, one Western person born in the Bardo state, one Eastern person born in the Bardo state. When these two Bardo meet each other, what language they will use? They don't need a language because they can communicate through the mental communication. There is a term called the telepathy, mentally communicating. Like in the dream state, you are not using any language. You might feel that you are using the language, but in the state of the dream, you communicate with the peoples. You feel you are speaking English or Chinese or whatever language. But in the reality, in the dream state, there's no sound. It is just something that you are communicating in the mental communicating. So in the Bardo state, when they communicate each other, there is no language. They are just mentally communicating. That's what called the telepathy. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. And today we'll stop here. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.